So I'm sure by now that if you were a fan of Division, you've probably tried the Outriders demo. Now, of course, I had my own feelings on the Outriders demo. There's some negative impressions. There's some good, or at least I guess they exceeded my very narrow margins for, what I thought the game was going to be. But in the end, I am going to get the game. Or at least I am going to probably be playing it day one or, the first week that the game launches. With that in mind, I do want to talk about what really kind of set this game off on the wrong foot for me. Alright, so obviously I've seen the trailers for the game, and I tried to not really pay attention to any of the hype from other YouTubers that were trying to talk up this game like it was going to be amazing and they were just going to cover it and blah blah blah. I could see that it was going to be kind of generic and it looked like an older generation game. And honestly, my impressions of looking at it was that the game was going to be a lot like Anthem, except it was going to be the walking simulator version of Anthem. And from playing the demo, that's pretty much what it is. Now, of course, it is better done than Anthem, I guess you could say, because Anthem was a terrible rush job with very limited scope and pretty much nothing to do. Outriders definitely seems like the team actually, got their shit together and was making the game this entire time. So on that, that's a good thing. I give them props for that. They were actually making a game, unlike BioWare. Now, where this game kind of started off on the wrong foot for me. As soon as you loaded up the game, or at least as soon as you loaded up the demo, it started, demanding that you create a Square Enix account. I am not really a fan of the whole data harvesting thing from corporations. I don't like it. So if I have to, sign up for all this stuff and create an account and then link my account to my Xbox account, it's aggravating because I know what they could do with my data. I know what they could do with, whatever they find or whatever they get on, by linking these accounts, by whatever I give them to sign up for the account, and they make money off of that. Or at least they have the potential to make money off of that. And I don't have a problem with them making money. I just don't want them having access to, my stuff like that. It's kind of annoying, right? Like, I just want to play the game. I don't want to be forced into, providing this stuff. So that kind of set me off on the wrong foot, right? The second thing that kind of annoyed me was just the opening, dialogue, the opening sequence, I guess the prologue to the actual game itself. Now, in the prologue, we get introduced to some of the characters and some of the environment and some of the backstory. And of course, it's all a very generic, boring, awful mess. I mean, the prologue had some issues. I don't know what it was, but it had some issues. And the actual story behind it, the actual, just encounters with some of these people, it was awful, right? I don't like the whole climate change conspiracy thing that everyone seems to try to propel on media and all this stuff, right? Because if you look at actual data, it's not as dramatic or as dire as everyone thinks. I mean, in fact, carbon levels are lower than the majority of the history of the Earth. So the fact that they're kind of supporting this narrative that humans are bad, Earth is doomed, that's the only sci-fi trope that we can just cram into a game. It's annoying, right? Like, why? Why couldn't you come up with something else? Why couldn't you come up with some sort of better story? Because obviously it doesn't really play much focus in the game how Earth was ruined, because we're not going out and creating all these freaking fossil fuel factories there on the planet. But why couldn't it just be something else that just made it feel less political? So that annoyed me. And of course, if you go back to early 2009, 2010, I don't even remember, but when Avatar came out, right, that terrible James Cameron movie, the one where basically humans bad, humans ruin everything, aliens good. Just again, the classic sci-fi garbage where humans can only destroy things, and there needs to be one or two certain enlightened people that just, leads humanity into a better direction. I mean, I get it. It's just boring. It's like, why? So when you combine these things, the humans bad, the colonization bad, the climate change bad, and just the corporate greed with the whole data harvesting, it really just kind of put me in a bad mindset. But then I think the final nail in the coffin for the demo was just the quality of it. Now, I'm talking mostly the fact that, there was some graphical hiccups related to like FPS, shaking, blurring, that kind of stuff. I really felt sick. Like, the game actually made me quite ill for like the first hour or two that I tried it. Like, my eyes were hurting, my head was hurting, my stomach was in knots. It was an uncomfortable experience to play it. And that, again, did not help that, all the other stuff before was already like kind of like making me not want to play it. And I'm not sure what it was, but it seemed mostly like located in the prologue, like I was already saying. There was like birds stuttering in the background. Like you had background animation that was just kind of like ticking across the screen like it was Duck Hunt. And, then you had obviously the motion blur in front. So it was like this weird, kind of like fake 3D thing where, you've got this smooth motion in the front, this weird jerky motion in the back. I mean, the camera jitters, just, it was awful. And it made me uncomfortable. So this really, really put a negative light on the game itself. I mean, all these things combined put a negative light on the game. Now, of course, having time to think about it, having time to actually, look at the company's response to some of these things, I'm not going to crap on the game. They do seem like they're hard at work to fix the game, or at least fix some of the issues related to those graphical hiccups. And they are making statements, that we want to hear. So I'm not exactly sure how, convenient it is for them to just say, okay, yeah, we're fixing this stuff. But then, of course, maybe never fix it, or fix it, in a year or however long. But, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, because it does seem like they, are trying to actually get stuff done. They're trying to, make the game that players want to play. Now, I do fear that the game is going to be a little bit boring, just in the sense that it's going to be very rinse and repeat, kind of. I mean, they've got multiple classes that you can play, but, past that, what is really going to shake up the gameplay? Is there going to be different, really drastic different builds that you can use? I mean, to be honest, most of the stuff that I saw wasn't really drastically different. You still played pretty much the exact same way. I mean, you were either up close or further away. Some of your, abilities might have done, some interesting things, but they weren't really new or unique. And in fact, most of them did just remind me of Anthem abilities. I mean, like, you remember the artillery launcher in Anthem? I mean, that just kind of felt like the Technomancer, So a lot of the stuff felt, very generic, but it could be interesting for some players. So I think it's going to be an average game. I don't think it's going to be anything groundbreaking. I don't think it's going to be anything that's like, remembered for forever. I mean, there might be a few people who this could be their favorite game of all time. It's possible. But I think it's going to be a average game. I think it's going to be entertaining for, a few weeks maybe. But at the same time, I don't really have high hopes for the game. Their statements about live service don't really interest me that much. I mean, the fact that they said that they're going to avoid the live service, right? Or at least they're not making a live service game. It's going to be just, there's going to be a start and an end. But the whole problem with this is that I think the industry is confused a lot of what live service actually means. And I think they're just making a regular game. I mean, I don't think there's any, live service mystery here. I mean, if you look at Division, everyone says Division is a live service game. But I've got to ask you, what in the Division is live service? They've got a few, content updates, just generic stuff that they add in the game. which, to be honest, is really just content that they've cut from the game and then released later, or content that they didn't finish and then released later. And then everything else is just tied to DLC. So if a live service game is a game that has DLC and basically, releases content, then I'm pretty sure, Outriders is going to be a live service game. So yeah, a live service game might be something similar to Division 2 with the seasons, but overall, I don't think that really adds anything to the game. I mean, that's just kind of like busy work. I mean, if they would just release this as like DLC, where it just kind of rotates all the time and it's not tied to them releasing stuff, well then it's, what's the point of calling it live service or just a regular game? I mean, I think it's semantics. They've got to have their servers, so I mean, they've got to have something supporting the game, so they've got to constantly put support into the game. Are they just going to let it die after a year? I mean, this is kind of the thing that we don't really understand. I mean, they said it's not a live service, but what does that mean? I mean, there's going to be DLC, they're going to be doing stuff with the game, they're going to be supporting it, so I think it's just a talking point that they're like, we're being different, but they're not really being different. So honestly, I mean, that's just however you want to take it. I mean, I don't see it as a negative or a positive. It's just something they've said. But overall, I think the most important factor in me actually deciding to play the game day one, or at least, that first week, is the fact that it is going to be coming out for Xbox Game Pass. Yes, it is going to be available April 1st, day one, on Game Pass. So if you have pre-ordered it, which, you can continue to support the company if that's something that you're really interested in. I mean, it's not going to stay on Game Pass forever, so if you do actually like the game and you do actually want to support them, you can always buy it later. But I would highly suggest that you cancel the pre-order. I would highly suggest that you don't buy it if you are on Xbox. Wait and see if it's actually worth it, and then consider spending your money. Pre-orders are one of the huge issues that are plaguing video gaming. They know that they can release some game, get a bunch of pre-orders, people aren't going to cancel, they at least have guaranteed money. And it doesn't matter if the game's good or not, they can just, basically just print money from a few people who don't really pay attention and aren't very interested in actually, getting their money back. And of course, this just kind of fuels the whole corporate greed aspect of video gaming. Anything they can do to just kind of nickel and dime players is what they're going to do. But, like I said, being on Game Pass has encouraged me to actually try it. I mean, I'm going to get it day one because I can. I don't have to worry about spending $60 for a game that I'm, wishy-washy on. So we'll see what happens. We'll see, what the game has going for it. I do expect that the later stages of the game, after you get past the altered and the captains, just the basic mechanics that they introduced with the demo, I do expect that it's going to get more interesting. I do expect that the large monster fights that it looks like we're potentially going to have, I do expect those to be a lot more entertaining and a lot more fun. So hopefully they do kind of keep the mechanics new and fresh, or at least they introduce some stuff there that's just kind of a change of pace from the main game that we've already seen. And of course, I always hope that they go into more unique customization options for your character. I do hope that the exotics or legendaries or whatever they're called, I do hope that those become even more interesting and more powerful, and just the options on your gear and loot become even better than what we've seen in the demo, because it's just kind of flat as far as my standpoint goes. So I do hope that the end game really does bring out some unique mechanics that just kind of encourage you to play different characters, or create new ones, just to go through it again to see the kind of differences between them. I do hope that there is encouragement there, because if it is just a generic looter shooter with a designed end and that's it, I mean, that just kind of goes against the whole point of having a looter shooter, right? I mean, looter shooters are fun, but they're fun for the purpose of, powering up your character to continue on with the story. If a looter shooter is just dead, why would you want to just grind it out? I mean, that kind of seems like... Now, I know a lot of players drop off in Division 2 for that reason. They beat the game, so they're done. But there's also a large portion that sticks with the game and continues to grind and wait for, you know, more content. But if Outriders is going to basically have nothing and they're going to not really offer anything in the future, then why would you want to stick with the game? I mean, I don't know if that's their intention. I mean, there are companies that just make games that for, like, you know, just quick playthrough and you're done. But that kind of seems silly to go through all the trouble of making a looter shooter just to have it be done. So you take that how you will. But either way, I am looking forward to April 1st just to, you know, see what the game actually has at the end game. Hopefully it's good. Hopefully it exceeds expectations. Hopefully it's not, you know, disappointing. I mean, that's something that we've seen far too common in video games lately, where it's just you get it and it seems like it's going to be great and then it just disappoints you. So I'm glad that the hype for Outriders has drastically decreased among the Division veterans, because I think there were a lot of people who were just thinking this is going to be a great game for no reason. You know, they just saw it and they're like, oh, looter, it's going to be great. I think there were players, or at least I guess I should say, I think there were YouTubers who saw a decline in Division viewership and are just desperate for something else that would, you know, distract people, at least get them views. And I think they artificially hyped the game, you know, just trying to stoke their communities to watch them play Outriders. And that's, I don't know, that's kind of slimy. I don't think that the game ever warranted any sort of hype or any sort of like, oh man, this game's going to be awesome. Like, you look at it, and if you play video games, you can tell quite easily that the game is not that hypeable. It looks okay, it looks playable, but it doesn't look exciting. But anyway, that's all I wanted to say, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.